Hello everyone, it's Brian here. Today I'm doing a thread response for Sam from the channel Americana Sam. Of course, I will leave a link. I guess it was late last week where he released a video called something like Black and White Album Art, and he encouraged us, all of us, to make a video showing black and white album covers. So I'm going to do that. Now, I didn't choose my favorite black and white album covers, and I didn't choose my favorite albums that happen to have black and white album covers, just black and white covers that I think are nice. So, or that I like, let's say that. And so please go to check out Sam's channel and maybe take part in this yourself. Now, of course, Sam filmed his in a rather artistic way. You know, he filmed it in black and white. I'm not going to attempt anything like that. You'll just get the usual experience, which should be fine. So I'm going to start with the first record I thought of, and that is this band called Killing Joke, which I'm sure many of you, of course, will know from the UK. This is their debut record from 1980 called Killing Joke. Now, first, look at this fantastic album cover. I'm not fully aware of what's going on here. I think it's really cool, and the back is also cool. Really fantastic cover. Now they're industrial, maybe industrial metal, post-punk, a little bit of goth, maybe a tiny bit of new wave. This was more of an underground record when it came out. Not everyone clued in right away, but it's proven to be influential. It sort of set the tone for bands like Nine Inch Nails, maybe you could make that argument. A couple of tracks here were covered by well-known bands. So, for example, The Weight was covered by Metallica, I'm not sure when. Requiem was covered by the Foo Fighters. So, I've always loved this album cover. I think this is a really heavy but really engaging piece of music, which I quite enjoy. Now, from Canada, originally from the East, now in Toronto for years, this is power pop band Sloan. This is called Alive and All Right. Lovely concert photo there, glossy image. This is a double live album, recorded in the year 2000, but not released on vinyl until 2023. It contains every track from their album Between the Bridges, plus a B-side that they performed live to a very small audience in Scarborough. I used to know how many people were there. I don't know. It was also filmed. I don't know who was there or how many people were there. I just can't remember. And here's the gatefold. Lovely photos with the track listing. A really good Canadian band. Comes with this insert. Now, there's only 1,200 copies of this record made, so it might be hard to find one. I don't know. Maybe you can find one if you want one, but it's actually quite hard to find. I don't think it was released on CD. I think there was a digital version, but really interesting record from Sloan. Now, a record I chose because the cover's black and white, but also the name of the album is black and white, from the Stranglers. So here we go, their third record from 1978. I love this album cover for a number of reasons. One is that there's nothing on it. It doesn't say the band, doesn't say the album title. Just has these guys, a very high contrast between black and white, in interesting poses, you know, two sort of conventional poses and kind of strange poses over here. The back just has the Stranglers, no track listing, just the copyright information. So you only see the album title on the spine, if you can see that. They're a punk band, of course. I mean, their sound has changed over the years, so I think at the time you could say punk, but with keyboards, which really set them apart from most other punk bands. There's a nice just insert with lyrics, and I remembered that the the labels are not black and white at all, but kind of a strange choice there. But yeah, very cool record from the Stranglers. Another UK punk band that's still, I guess, active. They put out stuff recently. Well, how recent was it? Last 3 or 4 years. From a band called Wire. This is called 9/7s, recorded 1977 to 1980. Now, you may note that the words 9/7 are probably gray, or maybe a hint of color. The fish is gray. I mean, you can't really do black and white without getting some gray, I suppose, unless you're totally high contrast. There's the back. The band there, really influential and interesting band to me. I really quite like their music. Very simple labels. I love this album design though. This is probably a favorite cover of mine. It came out in 2025 for Record Store Day, but it was previously released as a a package of, or I guess a set of 7-inch singles, but they put them on 12-inch records for Record Store Day, which I think is really cool. Bio vinyl, but I think it sounds good. Here we have a very, very quiet, acoustic, minimal record from Mark Hollis, of course, from Talk Talk. Now, he passed away some time ago, of course. You see the black and white photograph there. This came out in 1998. This is the 2019 repressing. So it is a very spare album. I think the album design, the cover design sort of suggests that with this fairly small image. On the CD version, the image is larger in relationship to the white background, but here they made it smaller. This just has a plain black labels there. But yeah, not the record you want to listen to if you have a lot of surface noise on it, but this one sounds good. So sadly he passed away though. Now, a Canadian band called July Talk. They're kind of like an indie band. I can't think of a better word for them, indie band. This is Touch. And boy, what's the date on this? There's a nice black and white photo there. I think this is 2016, their second record. Every record they've released is black and white. So there's some that are white with black, some with black with white. I mean, the text here is gray, but that's a black and white image for sure. And inside there is, as always, they always include black and white inner sleeves with some photography. One of the curious things about this band is that they have two singers. One is a man with a really rough voice, even rougher than mine today. You know, I guess you'd sort of say approaching Tom Waits territory, but not quite there. Maybe it's sort of a gruffer Leonard Cohen, maybe. And so it's an interesting contrast between their two voices, sort of like black and white. I don't know. And here's the record itself, black and white. So pretty good choice there on color. Where is the... Come on. You can pause the video. No, you can fast forward the video. All right. So that was July Talk. Here we have one of my, I guess maybe my favorite band from Cleveland. I can't even think of another band from Cleveland. This is the only band I can think of. It's Pere Ubu. They call themselves Avant Garage. Of course, Dave Thomas, the leader and only consistent member of this band, died some time ago. Other musicians came and went, but he was the only consistent. I guess he was the driving force behind it. This is from 1978. Love this record. I mean, this band confuses a lot of people, or confounds a lot of people, because the sound is very jarring in some respects. Has blue Mercury labels, which doesn't fit the theme at all, but a fantastic record. If I give you one track from here, it's probably going to be Non-Alignment Pact. And here's a guy you probably all know from Echo and the Bunnymen. This is Ian McCulloch, Candleland from 1989. Really interesting album cover. On the track Candleland, he's joined by Elizabeth Fraser from the Cocteau Twins. Black and white inner sleeve. I don't think this is as good as Echo and the Bunnymen, but it's not bad. This is when he left the band and some other singer took over in Echo and the Bunnymen, and then they reformed. But yeah, it's pretty good. It's not as good as Echo, but really good. Here is a fantastic modern psych band from Austin, Texas called The Black Angels, and this album's called Passover. I've always loved this design. Really cool. This is the back, but you can't see the whole title unless you open this up. It says Passover. I can't remember how many. I think they have 3 or 4 full-length records and then some EPs and whatnot. But terrific sounding band. Just I took an instant liking to them. The first song of theirs I heard was, I think, it was on this record. Which one was it? Young Dead Men, probably, or the first Vietnamese War. One of those two, and I was just hooked on this band. I thought they were really terrific. So the Black Angels. Every Black Angels record is fantastic. Here's a woman from Detroit called Lena Lovitch with their album Stateless. This is 79, I think, 79, on Stiff Records. So if you live in Europe, you may not have seen this album cover before because you had a different album cover over there. And for some reason, they changed it. In fact, some of the track listing is a little different. It's kind of shaken up. And I think some things may have been swapped out, I guess. But anyway, fun record. Here is maybe the oddest record in the bunch. A very strange Canadian band called The Government. This is Electric Eye from 1979. Truly a band that is very, very difficult to describe. There was one point I was going to do a whole video on this band. I haven't done it yet. We will see. But I love that album cover. Now, I think it's... Well, my argument would be that the stuff they put out after this was more accessible in a way. I'm thinking of their 7-inch 33 1/3 RPM EP, which had a track called Flat Tire, for example, or their album Guest List. I think those are albums with songs that are verging on new wave, more accessible. This is a very strange field recording, as it says here, of The Government, accurately reproducing the songs and the soundtrack from Videocab's Electric Eye. It is very, very bizarre. I can't even possibly describe what's going on in this record. It starts with a really crazy track called Greetings from the Gutter, which they reprise at the end, and there's like a letter to Craig. It is weird, man. It is weird. I only drive my car, loading of guns, shoot out and escape. Very strange, but I've always loved the album cover. And the label's just a plain black and white label. Very cool. An excellent compilation of B-sides and more from the Jesus and Mary chain called Barbed Wire Kisses. Everything's black and white except for the gold stamp promo. I can't remember where I got this, but look at that listing of songs. You may know some of these if you're a fan. Great collection. Now, there was a double vinyl reissue later a few years ago that had a couple of extra tracks, but this is a really great collection of B-sides and more from the Jesus and Mary chain on a Warner Brothers label. Okay, we're getting near the end. I only have a couple to do. We'll see how many there is. New Order. So this is the Canadian pressing of New Order from 1985 with the onion skin that I managed to keep all these years. Without trying not to break it or ruin it, with the track listing on the back here. And for the first time, the band included photographs of themselves on the outer and inner sleeves, which is kind of cool. Very simple black and white cover. Fantastic record. This may be the first, no, it wasn't the first. Is it one of the first, maybe one of the first two New Order records I owned. I mean, it has a lot of really good tracks on here. My favorite is probably Elegia, or Elgia, I don't know how you pronounce that. But if you really want to experience that track, you've got to find the extended mix, or the full mix, which is like 14 or 15 minutes long. You got to find that. Really cool. Say two more, I guess. So, John Fox. Now, if you're a John Fox fan and you don't live in Canada, you may not have seen this before. This is the Canada-only pressing. It was pressed in Canada 3 times, nowhere else. It contains half of Metamatic and then some other singles on this record. So it's kind of a weird compilation and has a really interesting gatefold of John. Pretty cool record, though. Kind of a weird oddball thing that you'll only find in Canada unless you found an import copy of it somewhere on these sort of... Yeah, this is on Metal Beat Records. And finally, I decided to show this Wolf Parade record, another band from the east of Canada. This is a reissue of Apologies to Queen Mary, which you'll see there. Of course, this reissue has 2 extra pieces of vinyl in here, including some early EPs that the band did. Now, if you're a fan of the show Heated Rivalry, let me show you. Let me just open this up first. So some information there, and there's 3 records in here. So the entire album plus 2 early EPs. And of course, I'll Believe in Anything on side C there was used in Heated Rivalry. So if you've seen that show, you may know that song. This is a really good package, though. The whole album plus some early stuff on it, triple vinyl. All right, so that is it. Thanks for watching. Check out Sam's channel, and I will see you in the next video.